Right, and in theory that means we're back on Twitch, and we're good on YouTube. Okay. In theory, well, I've still got the chat popped out. Is it in the same URL? Yeah. How is that working? I'm gonna keep the stream health up to see instead. I was 370th in the queue for an Asus TUF 3080. Wow, that is quite the place. I was speaking to Christopher, who is an incredibly generous man, and who is, I want to say, 18th in the list for a what's it? A non-standard 3080. Is it like Inno 3D? Yeah. For the people who are watching on YouTube, is it the same live stream URL? No, it is not. Okay, pop out chat. That one, that one. Right, I've posted the updated chat, or the updated YouTube stream in the Discord. Right, Caveman got the Founders Edition 3090. My wife laughed at me. Nice. Okay, YouTube's broken again. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, nothing I can do now. I tried. Hi Spencer. Hi Sophie. Oh dear. Are you back? I hope so. I'm not kind of back to front. I'm front. Dad jokes then. We're not even a dad. I want to hear your opinion from you. Do you think after the launch of the upcoming 5600X, the 3600 will still be the go-to CPU for around £1,000 PCs? I think it will depend on how much real-world performance you gain, especially at 1080p, for going with that more expensive CPU. The pricing for the 3600 especially does make it especially appealing, as you might expect. And of course the 5600X is a good amount more, but if it is a sizable performance increase, then it could be worth it, but we won't know until we see some actual reviews on it. But yeah, I think if you're going for maximum value for money, I am doubtful that the gaming performance difference will be great enough that spending that much more on a CPU versus using that money to buy a tier up graphics card or whatever else is not going to make sense, right? So yeah. Spencer, you're welcome to, but like I said, because I'm streaming perfectly fine to Twitch, it is the connection from Restream to YouTube rather than from me to the internet. YouTube works fine. Okay, cool. It's telling me that there's errors and it's buffering, but what can you do? Yesterday I received the Thrustmaster Warthog, which I caved and paid a scalper £100 for the first time. First time my wife showed interest and wants to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nice, awesome. Hello, YouTube. It is cool. Apparently it's working. So you're welcome to join there instead. Which Zen 3 CPU will have the highest single core speed? I think it's still the same stack of how they had it from 3rd gen, so it will be the 5950 probably. Do you think the 3080 is worth it for future proofing instead of 3070? I think so. What I was saying was I've just finished benchmarking 3080s, a 3080 and then a number of other cards. And the 3080 was pretty consistently getting 150 to 160 FPS at ultra settings at 1440p. so it's kind of the perfect card for that resolution at ultra settings. If you're looking for future proofing, then yeah, I could see it making sense going with that instead, but I don't think it's essential, but like you say, future proofing wise could be worth it. Hello Holorift, how you doing? I'm okay, I suppose. Is ray tracing ever coming to Linux? Well, it's built into DirectX ray tracing, so until Vulkan makes one, no. Do you think AMD will have cheaper 6000 series GPUs than Nvidia, but worse performance? My assumption would be that they are still going to undercut them on price. They might, you know, debate us with what the pricing they say it is versus the pricing that they actually launch the cards at. But yeah, it's I expect they will undercut. Whether the performance is worse, we don't know. Is a 650 watt power supply enough for a Ryzen 3700X and a 3080? Normally, I would say yes, but I have tested not that configuration. I've tested a 3900X, which obviously does draw a bit more power, but even on the 750 watt power supply that's in that build with the 3900, it would, especially with a game like PUBG, it would just hard shut down because of the power spike that happens when you load up games and that kind of thing. So honestly, for that 3700X and 3080 configuration, 750 is probably my recommendation. If you want to be safe, an 850 might be a better shout. I can certainly try. My PC randomly freezes and it's not unstable. I stress tested everything, changed RAM, etc. So when does it freeze? Does it freeze like during games? Does it freeze completely randomly, like, you know, watching videos? Does it freeze in a predictable manner? Does it unstick itself, or do you have to reset? Does it ever actually crash, like blue screen? Does it ever actually, you know, turn off? There's a lot that I probably need to know before I can really troubleshoot. Do you know the price of the 5800X and the 5900 in the UK? I want to say that it was I'll just check. I'm pretty sure it was a public thing. So apparently the 5900 is going to be £530, and I'm guessing the 5800X was a bit. Where is it? 430. So yeah, that's it. What do you think about waiting for the higher VRAM 3080 or 3070? Can't see 10 gig not being enough, but seem to have gone from 3 gig to 8 gig pretty quickly. You think a similar trend is still occurring? So I saw a rumor that the Nvidia has scrapped the higher VRAM count cards, which doesn't bode well for that conversation. But I think for the time being, at say 1440p for example, I suspect that 8, 10, 12 gigs, whatever, should be fine. It's kind of hard to know at the moment because utilization doesn't actually show up all that well, but I think, you know, we're talking about hardware. For the majority of people, it is most people upgrade their hardware every 3 to 5 years. I think in 3 or 5 years time, yeah, we'll probably see, you know, 20 gig VRAM cards being more common. But whether you need that right now, or whether you can just sort of deal with what we've got kind of thing, and upgrade later, I think it's probably fine for most people. Bear in mind that most game developers are developing games for the hardware that the majority of people have, and the majority of people right now have like 4 gig of VRAM. So obviously there are exceptions to the rule, Microsoft Flight Simulator, but yeah. CSGO 360Hz, what do you think? For me personally, I already don't notice a difference between 144 and 240. Obviously less, input lag, and more frames is always more better, so 360Hz will be more better. But I think unless you're an esports pro, I don't think it'll matter. What do you think, 3070 or 3080? If all you want to do is play 360Hz at 1080p on CSGO, then 3070 is fine. Any recommendations on cheap under $1,000 Pascal or newer GPUs? I mostly play Minecraft. Is that a troll? Because under 1,000. Well, that's just. I don't know if cheap and under 1,000 kind of match up there. Oh, you have a 30. You have a 2070 Super, but you want to know if you should upgrade to a 3070. So the question is, what frame rate do you currently get in CS:GO? Because those monitors use G-Sync, so as long as you're getting 360 FPS or higher, fine. Is there a risk of early adoption of DDR5? Say would appear by fall 2021. Should you buy? So it's unlikely that DDR5. Well, one, we can probably expect DDR5 to be available in that kind of time frame. I don't think Intel. In fact, I know Intel's next gen, 11th gen chips won't have it. Ryzen ones will, at least in theory, but the early adopter tax. Yeah, there's not going to be a significant reason besides necessity to get DDR5 over DDR4. There wasn't really a massive difference between going from DDR3 to DDR4, beyond things like capacity improvements and of course frequency, but at the loss of timings as always. So yeah, I think fall next year might be a reasonable time when we start to see that available, but should you buy it? I think it will more depend on what CPU it's connected to. What do you use to cool your CPU? Still the H100i Pro? Yes, I haven't touched my personal rig. I don't really touch it all that often. So it's still got the 3700X, it's got the H100i Pro cooling it, it's got, it now has 64 gigs of RAM, 3200 megahertz, because that's all I could get, because I use it all for video editing, man. I've got that Patriot Viper VP4100 Gen 4 SSD, as well as a WD Black SN700, the 1080 Ti, and a couple of hard drives and SSDs and stuff. No worries yet, another user. So you said randomly even idle while in Windows, and totally unpredictable, no blue screen, have to hard reset it. You can maybe try checking the event viewer, Windows event viewer, to see if there is any like kernel panics or anything that it's reporting. I would lean towards software. So for fresh install of Windows could solve your problem. I know it's a pain in the ass. I wouldn't do it, easily or lightly, but yeah, I'm leaning towards software being the problem there. Samsung 980 Pro or the upcoming Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus. I'm in the market for a 500 gig PCI Gen 4 drive. So I suppose the question is, why do you want a Gen 4 drive over a good 1 terabyte Gen 3 drive that you could get for the same price, kind of thing, you know? And then the other thing is that I think they're going to be fairly similar. Samsung will probably have a better warranty and, in theory, reliability, but the Sabrent one will be a hell of a lot cheaper. Fresh install didn't work. Okay, so in that case, leaning more towards hardware. If I had to guess, and I am completely guessing, my instinct would push me towards CPU issue, rather than anything else. The fact that it's not happening under load, especially like gaming load, for example, makes me think that it's not graphics card, and pretty much everything else doesn't cause a system to hang fully. 980 Pro prices are pretty reasonable. Fair. I haven't seen them yet. I keep meaning to ask Samsung to send me one, but I haven't been looking. If I don't overclock a 5800X, would you recommend a liquid cooler or save money and go with air cooler? Getting a liquid cooler can just be a either aesthetics or a quietness choice sometimes. There are some good. In fact, Arctic just released a new cooler called the Freezer 50. Which might be a good shout instead. So yeah, yeah, those large capacity drives a couple years ago were insane. Hello, Mizzy, how you doing, man? And hello to the folks on YouTube, including Liam. Hi, man. Should I get a 2060 now or later? A 2060 now, because I don't think that they're going to be releasing a new mid-range card for until sort of middle of next year. Hunch on the SSD, potentially, but like I said, that shouldn't really hang the system in its entirety, because a lot of operating system, for example, is stored in RAM, and I know Windows is terrible, but it doesn't. If it's waiting for a file, it doesn't normally lock the system in its entirety, especially if it's a background file, while the system's idling rather than you actively doing something with it. So yeah, not sure. Strix B450F at the MSI Tomahawk Max. Got them both sat here, and I'm unsure which one to chuck in the build. Nice. I want to say that the Tomahawk Max is probably the better shout of the two. But yeah. What's better for a budget build? A Ryzen 5 1600. That's an interesting choice, and I can't imagine why that would match with a 10400 in terms of price, or a 10400F. Of the 1600 versus the 10400, the 10400F would win pretty much every day of the week. If you mean the 3600, then that's a closer tie, and it's kind of up to you what if you'd want the future-proofing characteristics of the Ryzen side, or the more immediate performance on the 10400F. Now, should I get 16 gigs of RAM or 24? Well, I don't know why people don't use 24 gig. Because that doesn't evenly divide into 4 or 8 gig DIMMs, and you want to use you want your RAM to be running in dual channel mode. So what you'd be doing there is running 16 and then 2 4 gig sticks instead, which mismatching RAM's normally not a great idea, especially capacities, but also speed and latency. So I would either run 16 or 32, because that intermediary is just gonna cause you problems. Okay, so in that case, in that case, it could be GPU wise. Potentially, I suppose if you've done a fresh install, yeah. So it could be GPU hardware if it's the GPU's, like, say there's some a dead block of RAM in the GPU's VRAM, potentially. See if you can get another graphics card, even a low power one or whatever. Try swapping that out and seeing if it still happens. Is there any way to have 240 FPS stable in Pubg? Yeah, lots of like low settings, high horsepower. You have a 2070 Super, so that's probably pushing it, even at 1080p. Because even a 3080, admittedly on ultra settings, but even a 3080 only got 220 FPS in Pubg. So a 3080 could conceivably run at 240 on like medium settings or low settings consistently, but yeah. Yeah. Aaron, if the 5950X is supposed to be significantly better than the 3950X, then why hasn't the price of the latter not come down more? Because there's no point in AMD pulling the price down of a CPU that they have already manufactured and want to get rid of, right? Like, yes, they could sell it for peanuts, and yes, I'm sure it would sell well, but that's not good business. That's not good economics. So yeah, the used market reacts more readily to price changes. What do you think of a 10100 can go with a 2080 Ti? Is there a bottleneck for gaming? Yeah, there is. That's a dual core. So you'll struggle to run quite a few modern games with it at all. And then yeah, especially at 1080p. My God, that would be terrible. I wonder if you get like 1660 Ti levels of performance with that. What would you buy? 5700 XT or 2070 Super? Personally, I'd go with the 5700 XT because it's less money for not quite the same performance, but it's a much better value for money proposition instead. Thank you to all the people who are following on Twitch, by the way. You can actually watch the stream properly. Yeah. What else was I doing this week? Oh, I've got the Asus Zenbook Duo in, the one with it's a laptop with a normal display and then the fairly large display above the keyboard. That's going to be interesting to take a look at. I haven't got it out of its box yet, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to take a look. Would you upgrade the 1080 Ti because not getting 120 FPS in COD, only 90? Like, kinda, but I have a 1080 Ti, I play at 1440p and on, I guess, fairly high settings, and I have a pretty good time with it. Lag is normally not a complaint with me, so yeah. I think I asked you something about CPU cooling every 2 weeks, but do you? I think it's the attempt difference between an Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 and an Ultra NHD 1501. Keep looking at AOs, but keep leaving them out because I'm worried about AIO failure. So I've had a lot of AIOs. I have only ever had one fail. It was 4 and a bit years old when it failed, and it didn't actually fail. It just, the pump stopped working. You know, there was no fluid out of it or anything. And it's pretty easy because as long as you're fairly cognizant of monitoring your temperatures, you know, you just like swap it out later. But yeah, I've not had an AIO ever leak on me, and I've only, like I said, only ever had one fail after like 4 years of use. With that said, the NHD-D15 is pretty much the best cooler you can get, or air cooler you can get, and I'm hesitant to say that it's going to be a very significant temperature difference. It might be a couple of degrees, but yeah, it's still the same thermal mass. The only difference is the heat transfer method, really. You're using relatively fast moving water versus convection and conduction through heat pipes instead, but nah, pretty similar. Are we talking old style live unboxing? Unfortunately, I don't have it here. Otherwise, I could consider it. What do you think of the PS5? It's alright. I think the people who are getting one are going to be very happy. Same with the Xbox Series X. Personally, I'm not overly interested, I guess. I'm not planning on getting either of them, you know, purchasing either. And I'm not expecting to do much with them, so yeah. I think they look pretty decent, especially from the hardware side of things, but yeah. I can only apologize to the people who are watching on YouTube because my god, it's terrible. But you can watch on Twitch instead. You can even pop out the YouTube chat if you want to keep, you know, YouTube chatting, but also have or actually be watching the stream on Twitch instead. Feel free to do that. What would be the next upgrade to your rig? I think the answer is either CPU or graphics card. Some more cores would be great, and some, you know, a higher end graphics card might be nice. It's not something, you know, I'm not itching to upgrade it right now. If I'm itching to upgrade any hardware, it's to build a new NAS with a load of 10 terabyte WD Gold drives. So yeah, that pretty much. But either CPU or GPU really. Cambridge Punk, hello. Just want to let you know that the Corsair Iron Claw is brilliant. It'll take some time to get used to the mouse wheel with the grippy contours, but that happens with the new peripherals. Nice. I'm glad that you like it. It fits. Yeah, awesome. What boot drive do you have? It's the WD Black 1 terabyte SN700. Decent drive. I use the Gen 4 Viper VP4100 as my editing and scratch drive, and like cache drive. No worries, Chris. Heads and tails, thank you very much. I'm sure it will show up on screen at some point. There we go. But yeah, thank you very much. Yanazig, what can I say? You know, you'd actually have to be able to watch it to hear that. So, you know, there's that. But, yeah. Oh dear. Might chuck some NVMe's in my server. Could make it as an excuse to upgrade my gaming rig drives and put the old drives in the server. Fair. That's certainly one way to go about it. Just got a stack of SSDs upstairs from like reviewing and build guides and stuff. I don't quite know what to do with them. I know that there are going to be, you know, some what you call it, some used in builds in the future, but yeah, funny. Just joined the stream on YouTube. How's the stream health? Pretty terrible. It drops out every 10 minutes or so for a couple minutes. Thank you very much. So yeah, feel free to watch on Twitch if you fancy it. What do you think of the Razer Blade 15 base laptops? So I have reviewed the advanced. I want to say I don't think I've reviewed the base model, but the problem that I had with the base model, and I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to say something that's, you know, heinously wrong and outdated. But the problem that I had with the base model was that the spec was just absolutely terrible. Especially the storage, which is one thing that you can't really, you know, deal with running out of that. Where is it? So the new base model has up to 512 gig of storage. Yeah, that's just terrible. Base model with an RTX. So you can get it with a reasonable GPU share. I'd probably get it with the 2060, really. But 512 gig of SSD space, like COD takes, even if you uninstall the campaign and co-op, COD still takes up like 150 gig of storage. And you only get 16 gigs of RAM. You only get 512 gig of storage. The CPU's fine, like fine, but for what, £1,900 for the base model, you can get a lot better for a lot less. Certainly. So yeah. Ordered a normal chair's a Hero Black Edition today. Hopefully it's going to be good. So hard picking a chair these days, also expensive. True. Yeah. This is the standard one. The Black Edition was, I just preferred the slightly more stiffness to this one. But yeah, that, like, it was a very comfortable chair, and I'm certainly comfortable in.
3090 fund.
Thank you, Luca. I'm certainly happy with the comfort level. So for the people who are asking on YouTube, that's the Twitch stream. My upload rate, my internet is capable of 18 megasecond. I'm only streaming at 6, and it's not the connection between me and the internet. It's the connection between Restream, which is the platform that I use to stream to both Twitch and YouTube, and to YouTube. It's working fine for Twitch, so yeah. What do you think about the RTX 3090 than a 2070 Super? So those are two very different cards at two very different price points. The 3090 is an insane card that will monster anything you want pretty much right now, but the 2070 Super is a much more reasonable value for money, which is weird to say that because the 2070 Super still isn't a great value for money, but yeah, I think a 3070 will be a better value between the three of them. Heads and Tails, I played Doom 35 years ago when it was first released. It was hard but an addictive game back then. Nice. I was not alive then. Right. -12. Oops. You need a dedicated line. I wouldn't say no. Spencer, feel free to hook me up. XSplit might solve your problem. Yeah, except XSplit doesn't have I couldn't do this integration very nicely. Like, I like Streamlabs OBS. It does a good job. If I could stream natively from Streamlabs OBS to multiple, to both YouTube and Twitch, which you might be able to do because I don't check the updates very regularly. That would make it, perfect. But yeah, it's not the streaming software that's the issue at the moment. Which gaming keyboard and mouse is best for you? So if you mean best for you, it's a very personal preference, and it really depends on how much money you are willing to spend. And yeah, there's a lot of personal preference involved. For me, it is the Cool Master Master Keys Pro L. It's a Cherry MX Brown keyboard, and I love it. And I use a Razer Naga Trinity to game on personally. But yeah, OBS video output plug-in into XSplit. Fair, I guess. It could work. I feel like that's a point of failure, as I don't know XSplit very well. But I'll have a look. Interesting chat going on here. Oh yeah, on Monday's video should be quite interesting. It's the Philips Momentum 55-inch. Like, it's not a TV, but it's a 55-inch monitor, so it may as well be. It's 4K. It's actually a VA panel, which is kind of interesting. But it's 4K 120 Hz, and it costs €1,000-ish. And it's a very nice experience. After the 1909 update, Fortnite has been running in 20 FPS and won't go up. My normal FPS is 144, but do you have a fix? Have your settings changed? Is it running at the correct resolution? Is the FPS cap running in Fortnite at the normal, rates? There's a lot that could have gone wrong there. You could also try reinstalling your graphics card driver. That might help. What do you think about YouTube deciding to shadow ban PewDiePie? I have not seen that, so no idea. I'd be interested in the TV monitor if they made smaller 40-inch ones. So they started with a 40, I want to say it was the 42 in the fan. What was it? Are there big differences between the 36, the 3600X, and the 3600 XT? Not really. They're all just clock speed changes, and they're all pretty much the same chip. Would you wait for the bigger 3070 in December, or try to get the normal one? As far as I read, the 3070 is the higher VRAM cards aren't coming out. Nvidia cancelled them or whatever. So yeah, that's not. I don't think that's going to be a thing. And so getting the normal 3070 is what I'd recommend there. I would recommend OBS Studio. It's a lot more powerful than Streamlabs OBS. Interesting. Streamlabs OBS is just a fork of the standard OBS Studio, and then they add all of their other stuff on top, like the chat integrations, the alerts. I can see Twitch chat built into it, live viewer accounts. Like, it is definitely better than standard OBS. You can use OBS Live, which is Stream Elements version, or plug-in for standard OBS, but yeah. Hey, thought I'd join you on Twitch. YouTube not playing nice. That's fair, yeah. YouTube is pretty terrible at keeping things working, unfortunately. I've tried my best, but well, what can I do? Should I delid my 8700K? It depends what temperatures it's running at, and if you've got some liquid metal lying around. So yeah, anyone got any last minute tech questions before we head off? Oh, and as a reminder, as usual, videos tomorrow, Monday, Wednesday, and then next week will be the AMD stream. So I'll be doing that again, same as I did for the Ryzen launch. And then there'll be a normal stream after that, but then no video on that Friday. From what we have seen of the AMD GPUs, the one that they showed seemed to be in the 3070 to 3080 range, and so that's decent, but we have to wait and see if that's the fastest card they've got, and what pricing they're going to be putting forward with them, and also what